Join us on the Swim Monkey.
Swim Monkey TV. On the Monkey.
Holding water, in the water we go. We talk about our future champions, swim techniques and Olympic strokes. Holding water, so much you will know about dolphin kicks, flip turns, dives, and how to find an awesome coach. Hosted by Bryan, Welter, and Tyler Kerns. Holding water is where competitive swimming is learned.
Well, theme song gets me jacked up every time. Welcome, everybody. Happy to have you guys back for another week of Holding Water. We're excited to bring you guys age group swimming news from some great coaches every week. And so we're excited that the audience has been great. Bryan had almost 4,000 people watch last week's show.
Yep.
So it's been great, man. What's been up with you?
Not much, man. Just been hanging out. Had a little meet this weekend. We'll talk about that a little bit here in, a few, but excited to have some good guests. I've known these guys for, man, I've known John since he was a little kid, and I've known Ben for close to 20 years now. So without further ado, we'll bring on John Hulvey, who's at Loggerhead Aquatics, and then Ben Davis, who is the head age group coach for Huntsville Swim Association. And yeah, I actually coached John when he was a kid. He grew up swimming for me, and he still made it out all right. So that's
right.
good.
Good gracious. That deserves a trophy right there, John.
Me and Ben have been arguing swimming for 20 years.
No.
Well, guys,
how you guys
thanks
doing?
for coming on. Oh, go ahead, Bryan.
How you guys doing today?
I'm
doing good.
That good, huh?
Yeah, we're doing great. Our Sunday spent talking swimming, the one day off a week.
There's no days off. There's no days off during all this stuff. It's been absolute madness. If you guys are out there and you want to comment, click on the screen and throw a comment in there. We'd love for this to be interactive for you guys. I know that all the swim coaches out there are probably, probably recovering from hopefully some meets starting to get going. I know everybody's been heavily engaged in practice. And so we just want to say, if you guys are out there, we want this to be interactive. So please throw in your comments. Let us know what you guys are doing with the topics that we bring up and how that's affected your team. So, Bryan, what have we got on the docket this week?
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the modifications we've had to make to training through this whole thing, some of the challenges and some of the things we've come up with, hopefully, to overcome, share some ideas with everybody, and maybe get some suggestions from everybody on stuff they're doing in the comments board. But, I think everybody, I don't know, we're going 4 to a lane. We're pretty much going to be 4 to a lane, I think, for the foreseeable future. We got one at the flags, one at the wall, one at the flags, one at the wall. And, it's been interesting because when you're on the other side of the pool, it's tough. You've got to really be pretty engaged in getting people doing 25, 75s and 125s and 175s and odd distances so that you can actually see everybody and actually interact with everybody. So that's been a challenge. I don't know. Are you guys going 2 to a lane, 4 to a lane, 10 to a lane? What do you guys got going on, Ben?
We're at 4 to a lane, so we're pretty much set up like you are. The one thing that we came up with that's worked well, we're switching starting points on each set. I tried the +1, +2 stuff, and all we did was run into each other. So we'll switch starting points on each set, so everybody's starting. Not everybody's on the wall the whole time.
Hey, Ben, will you explain that +1? I know what you're talking about because we were on that Zoom call when it all came up, but explain that +1 for those guys that are out there that may want to try something like that.
All right. Well, I actually got that from you, so. But
I got it from John Roy, so it's all good.
We all got it from Roy.
Yeah.
So if you're doing a 50, you do a 50 +1. So if we have 4 starting points, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're starting at 4, you do your 50 +1 means you go to number 1 position with the 50, which would be anywhere from 10 to 15 yards away, depending on where you start your kids. If you're +2, if you're starting at number 1, you end up at number 3. And it was driving me nuts trying to figure out intervals for 80s and 90s. And so we went back to just starting a different position each set so I could ride a normal set. The kids that like to read the workout before practice, they were really confused on what we were doing that first time. So we switched it.
John Roy chiming in here. Yeah, we did, John. Thanks for tuning in again, man. But yeah, we appreciate that. We definitely copied you on that one on one of those long Tuesday night Zooms.
And we gave you credit.
We did right there, right? Copyright JR right there. John, what's it look like for you guys over at Loggerhead?
So we're 4 to a lane as well. We're using the flags as our starting point. I actually stole, and I was telling Welter about this last night, stole this from somebody on that Facebook exchange. We filled up 5-gallon buckets and threw them out at the tee for our deeper side. We're about 6.5 on one of our pools, and so you can have a person stand there. It's kind of like a step stool, so you don't have that fight for the wall all the time. Our other pool's 10.5 on the other side, so you're treading water at that one. There's nothing we can really do about you. But I haven't tried to do any of the +1 or anything like that. I'm not really a math guy, so don't want to try and figure out new intervals, new speeds. We do kind of, I would say on a given day, we don't have the same person lane leading the entire time. So somebody's on the wall and kind of switching out between a kick set or something like that. Or if we're doing 50s where you're not going to get caught. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get more into that modified training, but we're not able to do the same sets that we normally would like to do with someone being 13 seconds away from your last person, less than that with 5 apart. So they're about 8 seconds away from that last person. So we have to modify pretty heavily on our sets.
Yeah, I think we're from a smaller team perspective, we've been pretty fortunate this summer to pick up some use of some of these outdoor pools, and use those 6-lane outdoor pools. We have been 4 or 5 to a lane if we have that 5th person kind of dead middle of the pool to be able to spread out. And what we've been able to do, because it takes them a little bit longer, we just tell them we're on a pace clock. So, hey, leave 1 second prior to from just a static or a drag start so that they could get going. But we're pretty much 4 or 5 to a lane right now. And, like I said, we've been really fortunate to move through practices and keep as many of our kids active as possible. But, one of the things for me is, how we've been able to try to target some of the energy systems that we would normally have, or focus on some of the skills that we would normally have. I think everybody started, at least when they first started swimming back, I'm going to do 2.5 or 3 weeks, or we're going to do nothing but technique and kicking until, this thing goes away and we're back to meets. And Bryan, I know we had lots of conversations about whether or not tags was going to happen in late July. And, so I think that a lot of teams were trying to do that. But what have you guys done in your training regiment, your regular routine and your schedule? How have you modified those to kind of hit the things that you need to keep your athletes moving forward?
Ben, you want to take this one first? Yeah.
Is it me?
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Go, Ben.
Right. Well, we actually, other than the fast stuff, we're doing a lot of the same stuff we were doing. When we're going fast, we're going in groups. We're going 2 at a time, 1 at each end. Like if we're doing 10 100s, 10 seconds rest, we'll have half the team on the deck and half the team in the water. We did 6 50s fast the other day, and half went and half were on the water. So it's other than the really fast stuff, we're pretty much doing the same kind of thing. We did have to modify that though.
So yeah, for us, I'm trying to keep it almost practice as normal. We usually do a lot more split apart into groups. About 3 times a week we do a mid distance, a distance, and an IM group split out, or a sprint group split out. So usually we're about 2 lanes of this group, 2 lanes of that group. But usually your sprint lanes doing 25, so you can go 5, 6 to a lane in that group. So we cannot go over 4 in ours. That's what our legal team gave us, and I tried for 5 and did not get that. So we're at our 4, so it's really hard to to get into that split up. So we're doing it more by day now. So, we'll have every Thursday is IM, for instance. So, we're going to do our IM sets, and our Sprint 50 freestyle guys have to suffer through that and do it with us. And so I don't think that it's necessarily hurt us. I think the hardest thing for us is hurt us on training, and this is more from our senior aspect. I know we're age group show, but we're not doing any doubles right now. We were able to do some with the lake swim and things of that nature over the summer. But, we're definitely down some training hours, and we're down from our specificity, if I can speak. But, so we're having to modify things. But I would say our on a given day, our sets are the same. We're down probably about 10% of our yardage total just based on transition times between our groups. How many workouts do you have to do on a day to get everyone in? So right now, I'm on deck between 6.5 to 8.5 hours a day just to run our senior program. And so I have 3 senior groups. I have 70 senior athletes on the team, and we can only get 24 in at a time. From age group perspective, we overbooked our age group by a little bit. We're still at 24 swimmers allowed, but as most of you guys are probably in that same zone, it's very rare that your age group program is 100% attendance. So we're overbooked there a little bit, but they're pretty normal. We have 3 groups of, I would say, between 10 and 14-year-olds. And then we have just Saturday, Sunday groups basically for our learning to swim kind of 7, 8, 9-year-olds. And so those guys are going Saturday, Sunday afternoons right now.
John.
Sorry. Yeah.
Hey, no, you're good. Hey, last week we had Mike on from Nitro, and one of the things he mentioned was they have an early, what do you call it, Bryan? Nitro early group? Is that what it was? Nitro early group for an early option.
Nitro early option.
Yeah, he was trying to get in. He was trying to get in some homeschool kids. Are you guys picking up any homeschool kids at Loggerhead?
So I do have a group that starts at 2:30, and technically our school system in our area ends at 3:50. So we have kids that have modified schedule, dual enrollment and whatnot, or are not going to school. They're doing learn from home. And so we have those guys coming in a little bit early. We didn't do that with our age group program. I think that's something we can think about if this keeps going, to kind of bring in some earlier groups. We're still in a little bit of a tough situation. We're at community pools, and one of our community pools, we're really pushing to even get the hours that we're getting right there, starting at 3:30. So, because it takes up lap swim basically, when we go in the pool. So expanding into that pool is a little bit harder. We do have full use of another pool, but our morning hours are gone because of a local high school team uses it in the morning for preschool hours. So we can't run doubles in those hours right now. When we hit November, we'll be able to use some more morning water. So
yeah, we're going almost what we would be going normally in the amount of hours. My group would normally be doing 1 or 2 doubles during the school year, and we're not doing that. We've just added some extra time onto some of the other workouts. We're swimming 4 to the lane, like I said, and we've been able to maintain pretty much the same energy system cycle that I've been doing for the last 10 or 15 years. It's a little bit challenging if you try to do anything over about 150 yards.
Bryan, what's that normal cycle look like for you? What's a normal week look like?
So normal energy system week for us. I'm obviously I coach 14 and unders, so anywhere from 10 to 14-year-olds basically. Basically we start the week off with an aerobic set, which is a tight rest, short interval, kind of like what can you make intervals on sort of set that'll be somewhere between 2,000, build up to 3,000, maybe even 4,000 yards, depending on the age of the kids and where we are in the season. We'll do that on Mondays and Wednesdays, or we generally alternate. So we'll go a threshold day, which is an EN3 day is what I call it. And it's basically 10 to 40 seconds rest between repeats with a max effort. I don't play around with 80%, 90%, any of that crap. We just go hard. If I'm asking you to go fast, I'm asking you to go fast. I'm not asking you to go kind of fast. So we'll alternate between an aerobic day and a threshold day, aerobic day, threshold day. And then one of the things I started doing a number of years ago was I added in a kick day. So we go about 4,000 yards of kick generally on Fridays. And it's pretty much just straight. Like, we do a little bit of swimming mixed in there, but it's pretty much just straight kick. We try to get it in about an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes because we've got a little shorter practice. So we do that on Fridays, and then Saturdays we'll come back and do some racing type stuff or go another threshold practice since that kick set is pretty much aerobic. But yeah, that's pretty much a basic cycle for us. When I do have mornings, I add the mornings in, and usually we do pulleys, and I'll do pulleys with 10-year-olds all the way up through 14, 15-year-olds. We don't do a lot of weight with them. If we do them with the little kids, we usually put fins on them and let them do them with fins. I think I worked with Randy for 2 years, and I worked with John Morse for a long time. And I think that resistance training is pretty good. To answer Joe's question there, my top group, national prep, is 11 to 14-year-olds. The 11-year-olds that I have are pretty good. They're not your average 11-year-old. They got to be something pretty. They got to have a pretty good swimming IQ. They got to be pretty physically mature. Generally, they're girls. I usually don't have any 11-year-old boys, and they've got to be. There's a lot of components that go into what I do when I move an 11-year-old up. But those kids will do some mornings. I am not a big hammer attendance guy. John will attest to this. I try to convince kids to come to practice. I try to convince parents that practice is important, but I do take attendance, but I do it pretty much more for myself than I do it for anybody else. And I rarely ever throw attendance back at kids. I've talked about it on a few of the shows, but we'll do Bryan's teaching moments when we're at a meet and we swim terrible. We'll have a learning lesson, and that'll be, hey, you should probably come to practice. That'd probably be a good idea. You'd probably be better if you came to practice. And that's pretty much how I approach attendance. But yeah, that's pretty much where we go with it. And we pretty much alternate between those two aerobic systems. We don't spend a lot of time. So that's not true. I do initial speed pretty much every day. And initial speed, one of the things that I changed about the way that we talk about initial speed is when we do fast, easy, variable speed stuff like other people talk about, we call it speed development. It is take your Ferrari or take your Ford Taurus and turn it into a Ferrari. You're trying to get your top end speed to be as fast as you can possibly get your top end speed to be. And it's only for about 8 seconds. And you're expected to try to go faster every single time you do it than you did the time before. And we do between 300 and 500 yards of it basically every day. And I think it's one of the things that separates what I do with the age group kids from a lot of the other programs in the country. I really think that's a lot.
Hey, Bryan, before we go to that real quick, I saw that question just pop up there. Probably don't have a lot of short course meters times to base that off of. But Ben, I wanted to ask you guys for you guys up there at Huntsville. I know Jan Mittermeier hit in here earlier. They're in serpentine. They're snake swimming basically throughout the pool. Are you guys circle swimming everything up there in Huntsville?
We are. Matt's not in the morning, the senior group, because they're going every morning, no afternoons. They're just in the morning so we can fit everybody in the afternoons. They are going 2 to a lane, and they've got the whole competition pool. So they can go straight. And then our senior development group, which is high school age kids also, some days they go straight. But everybody else is circle swimming right now.
So what's a week look like for you guys with your age group, Ben? With your group? You guys are blue group, right?
Yeah, I'm blue group. So we are some 12-year-olds, but mostly just 13, 14. For instance, I've got 11, 13-year-old 8th grade girls in the group right now. So it's a young group compared to what it was 2 months ago. Because I just moved 11 swimmers out and brought in 12 into my group. So, but we are 4 to 6 Monday through Friday, which we don't get in the water till 4:30. We've got a group ahead of us. So we're doing dry land meetings, We started stroke talks this week. So Monday was fly, then back, then breast and free, and we go over the strokes. Saturday's the one day where I have a pool to myself so we can go straight. We can go 2 to a lane and we can get on it pretty good on a Saturday. And we have 2 hours in the water. The rest of the time we're an hour and a half, hour and 27 in the water. But we are circling. Yeah.
Are you, what's a week look like though, Ben? Are you guys fairly aerobic every day? You guys fluctuate in like Bryan, where you're going threshold on certain days?
Yeah, we had a new swimmer come into our group and moved to Huntsville, and I told her, I said, we don't do things normal around here, so be ready for anything. But we do start out aerobic. We'll throw some speed stuff in a couple days a week. We do a lot of kicking. I like kicking. And then we'll do things like we have a thing where we'll go 30 seconds vertical kick, 15 seconds vertical skull where the shoulders have to be out of the water. And then we'll do a turn on the bottom of the pool. We'll go 8 to 10 minutes of that. So we'll throw some different stuff in there just to keep them guessing, keep them interested, but still get the work in. We need to go fast.
That's good. That's good stuff. All right. So training obviously has been modified, but everything everybody wants is swim meets. Every athlete, coach, and parent wants to get a chance to see these kids race again. I know we had a question about times in here. So all that ties in. Bryan, you said you don't talk to your guys a lot about practice attendance. Probably the most of the time when that happens is when you get to a swim meet and it's, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I go that time? But I wanted to go that time. Everybody wants to get coached at a swim meet and maybe not necessarily get coached at practice all the time. But Bryan, what have you guys been involved in as far as swim meets?
We just had our first meet, actually finished about an hour ago. We ran 3 sessions every day, we ran 2 meets. We ran an age group meet and we ran a senior level meet. And we ran 3 sessions each day, Saturday and Sunday, at 2 different pools, maximum of 80 athletes per session. We had a couple sessions that were right at 75 athletes, a couple that were a little bit low. And we basically we just did for the 12 and unders, 13 and unders, but the 13 and unders that are in the lower groups, they went 50 of each stroke, 100 IM, 100 free. And then the older kids went 100 of each stroke, 200 IM, 200 free. For the older kids and for the top age group kids, we split it up into 2 days. So they got to do 3 events each day. For the younger kids, they got to pick 4, and that was it. And it went pretty well. We didn't swim great, but, we've only been back in the water for about 4 weeks maybe. And I probably should have maybe not done 7,500 yards on Thursday with them. That might have been a bit overkill for me. But we had a long practice Thursday. We had 2 hours and 15 minutes with my top age group kids, and we got on some aerobic stuff, and it just I don't count a lot of yardage. I'm not a big yardage guy. I don't really pay that much attention, but we do some work. So I don't know. In hindsight, I probably should have backed off them a little bit, but I gave them an easy Friday if that makes them feel better. But yeah, so we did that. It went pretty well. We did the social distancing. We did staging. It's like being at a summer league meet. You got your ready benches and all this stuff all set up, and and you got to have your flow chart of where everybody goes and how everybody moves around the facility and all that stuff.
Karaya's calling you out there.
Yeah, hey, believe it or not, I'll send him the workout. But it was a pretty good one actually. But no, so we did the ready benches and the whole 9 yards. One of the facilities, we have enough deck space where we were able to put bleachers, 3-row bleachers down on the pool deck, and just put the X's all over the bleachers 6 feet apart, and they were able to come in and find an X and sit down. The other facility, we don't have enough room on the deck to be able to put 80 kids, so we put them actually up in the stands. It was much better having the kids up in the stands than the parents. That's just my opinion. And they basically came in, they found a spot, and they sat in their spots, and we did have to do a little bit of monitoring as coaching staff of yelling at them to keep their masks on and hey, sit 6 feet apart, or what are you doing? And so that was pretty much how it went. That was the first one. I think it went well. Our LSC is actually looking at increasing our numbers up to 120 per session next month. So we're hoping for that, just from a financial standpoint, because we do depend on meets to pay my salary. So, and I like getting paid. So,
John, what's it look like at Loggerhead for meets, John?
So we've actually been having meets for some time now. So we're sitting we had our first meet in June that was not sanctioned. And then we had our first sanctioned meet the first weekend of July. That was intra-squad only. And then we had another intra-squad championship format. So we did a 3-day meet in the first weekend of August. We did a similar thing. We had our age group, so 8th grade and under, basically, swam one day of the 3. So we were rotating those guys through, and they swam 4 events on the day. And then we swam 2 events a day for the senior groups for a total of 6. But the whole meet was only about an hour and 15 minutes for those guys, 30-minute warm-up meet, and then we brought in a new group. We only are running, so whatever our 4 per lane is, that's how many kids we're running in the meet. So in our 8-lane pool, we're running 32. In our 6-lane pool, we're running 24 for the whole session. So we're putting a lot of breaks in. So we'll swim, we kind of put it in an order of, we have, 100 back, 100 breast, 100 fly, 100 free, and then a break, 50, 2 IM, something like that, another break, and then all 3 of the 2.
I think we lost John's video there.
So we're kind of going back and forth.
There he is.
Wow, we got him back.
So I'll give it a second.
There he is.
All right,
There you
my
go.
apologies. All right. So then we'll swim like our 200s and crap. I think I'm lagging out.
All good. Ben, I'm going to throw it over to you real quick while I let John's internet catch up on it. You guys have this amazing $25 million facility up there in Huntsville that you get to race in.
There's like 14 50-meter pools all in one building or something.
Yeah, they're building another 50-meter pool for warm-up, warm-down only under the same roof. What's it look like up there, Ben?
Yeah, we ran a meet August, I think it was 15th, whatever that Saturday was. We had 3 sessions of 80 swimmers each. The first session was 25 and 50s. The second was 50 and 100s, and the third was 100s and 200s. And the second and third sessions had 80 swimmers in it. The first session, I think, had 60 some odd. After each session, the pool staff would come in and hose off everything with their cleaner and then wash that off. And we wiped off all the buttons and the chairs and all the equipment that was used, wiped all that down. And the only people in the building were swimmers, coaches, officials, and then the timers. And those were the people that were allowed in. We did live stream it on Facebook, so the parents got to watch what they were doing, what their kids were doing. And then we had people outside in the windows staring in. We're going to run another one, but we're going to go to 120 per session in the next one because, through experience, learning where we can put kids. We didn't have anybody in the bleachers. We were all on the deck. We didn't have anybody up at the top, so we'll start using that next time. And then we're going to try to run a 2.5-day meet in October and hopefully get another team in with us. But it went pretty good. It went a little too fast. The kids weren't getting a whole lot of rest. But it went well.
Yeah, that's the same thing. We did one yesterday here in Mobile. We swam outdoors, 6-lane pool. We limited it to under 50 kids, and we had them spread out. They were all over the place in this outdoor facility. Didn't have a ton of fantastic swimming going on. We had some decent results from some kids who, just hadn't swam a lot of races in a while. So they were able to do some stuff well. But, one of the things that we came across that was, we had a lot of expectations. They had a lot of expectations for themselves and asking questions like, well, I went that time, last year at Southeasterns. Yes, that was in Huntsville at a competition pool that's 10 feet deep. And, talking to, older 14-year-olds, senior kids, as well as some of the age groupers, is that, you've got to gauge expectations, because for most of you, this is the first time you've really raced, and kind of swimming ourselves back into racing shape. So we kind of equated it to, maybe this is your first meet of the high school season for you that are a high school kid, and gauge those expectations with what you normally go at a meet like that, because we didn't suit anybody or do anything like that. No rest. Just tried to kind of go through a regular week and then see what we could get up and do at the end of the week. But John, I think you're back in, and so I don't want to take up time from our guests. But John, what you were finishing up talking about meets for you guys there. What's your plan moving forward with your age group guys, specifically those 14 and unders? How often are you going to try to have those guys race?
Our goal is pretty much once a month. It's a little bit of a hardship on the official staff. We don't have a huge crew on our team, so we're trying to actively recruit some new parents. Obviously getting people on deck, that's an advantage right now. Maybe we get some extra officials signing up because they want to watch their kids swim. But we're trying every 4 weeks is the plan. We've got a meet next weekend. And we're not taking our, because we're actually out of town, but we're not going to take our youngest group. So we have basically our 10, our advanced 10 and unders through our seniors going to that meet. And then we're going to host something in October, and we're in the middle of high school season here in Florida. So the plan for October is, if high school season is going well, we're just going to run an age group meet in October. If high school season's not going well, we're going to have to fit everybody in and try and run a bigger October meet.
One of the things, going back to what Ben mentioned about it going a little bit fast, one of the things we did with our older kids session, we swam, like I said, 3 events per day for 2 days, and we put a 40-minute time block. So the girls would start their next event 40 minutes after their first event. And so with 3 events, it worked out to about an hour and 40-minute, 2-hour session. And all the kids got plenty of rest in between. And we basically just set the pace clocks to the hours. And the kids knew that we're going to start on the zeros. The second event is going to start on the 40. The third event is going to start on the 20. And they knew that. And so, like, the girls didn't stress about what was going on with the boys' heats. The boys didn't have to stress about, much of what's going on with the girls' heats, because they had a pretty good timeline idea of what was going to happen. So we almost ran it almost like a nationals meet, where they give you the timeline and they stay on the timeline. There's no trying to beat the timeline or getting behind the timeline or whatever. We had plenty of time to work it, and we had plenty of time to do all the staging. So it worked out pretty good. We're probably going to add that in to the age group portion of the meet. We may do 30 minutes with the age group kids, but we're looking at ideas like that. We're actually going to have a meeting tomorrow with the entire staff to discuss what we want to do moving forward. But yeah, that's one of the things we did, and I thought that was really effective at the pool that I was at today. Having that we get done at 36, and the girls come over and they're like, "We're going on 40, right?" I'm like, "Yep." And so they knew they had to be there and they had to be ready, and it gave them time to warm up. And to answer Jan's question, we did warm up and warm down. We put a cap on 4 kids per lane. And we told them that if they were too close to each other, sitting on the wall together, that we weren't going to let them warm down. We really didn't have to do anything with it. We had some safety marshals that were just volunteer parents.
Yep.
And we told them, "Hey, your job is to be a jerk right now. Like, that is your job. Like, you have to be a jerk and get these kids to understand that this is what's got to happen." Because
Bryan, you guys are indoors, right? Your meet's indoors.
We're all indoors.
I was going to say, is there anybody in here that's not having all of your parents required to be in a mask at all times? All of ours are
around.
So we don't have any parents on deck at all.
I mean, meat workers.
Everybody, including the athletes and the coaches, are in masks the entire time.
Same here.
If you're not in the water, swimming a race, you're in a mask. And one of the things we did is we told them all to bring Ziploc bags.
Yep.
And so they carry their Ziploc bag around. They put their mask in it. They set it on the pool deck. They get in. They do their warm up. They get out, they put their mask on, they carry their Ziploc bag to the block, they take their mask off, put it in the bag, put the mask down in the bag, they get out of the race, they immediately put the mask back on, and they parade to the warm down pool where they can take the mask off, get back in, warm down, and then they have to put it back on as soon as they get out. And then we were pretty aggressive about it. And it went well. The kids wanted to be back, they wanted to race, so they were pretty cooperative, I will have to say. I was skeptical going in.
All right, guys, we talked a little bit about practice modifications. One of the things I think is really important for all of us, Ben hit on it earlier about having kids do dry land and stuff like that. What's dry land, Ben? What's dry land look like for you guys in Huntsville right now? How are you guys incorporating it? You know, what kind of safety measures are you guys taking with regards to dry land?
Well, we're fortunate. We've got a back patio that we can do our dry land on. We've got plenty of parking lot space so we can put our dry land on. So they have to wear their mask until they get to a spot, and then that they're 6 feet apart from everybody. And then they can take it off to do the dry land. But we're not using any equipment. I know Bryan was talking about using equipment the other in their program down there, but the only equipment they're allowed to use is what they bring in their bag and take home in their bag. We're not using any of our chutes and our cords and any of that stuff yet. We haven't gotten to that point. So dry land is all body weight, balance, core, that kind of stuff. I love burpees. They don't like burpees.
Yeah, they don't like those.
We beginning of each season, we do the plank challenge. So we're up to 50 seconds right now and going toward 3 minutes, and then as far as you can go, right? So we do that at the beginning of each season, and they're not a fan of that either, which means it must be working. So, but everything is, you know, lunges, squats, burpees, core. We did dice game on Friday. You know, have 11 exercises, roll the dice. And then the second roll is how many seconds they're going times 10 of that exercise. So I could say, see, it's not me making you do this. It's the roll of the dice. I have nothing to do with it. And then I would go around and let individual kids roll it, you know, so we're doing things like that.
That cross-contamination.
Huh?
Oh.
Now, our senior group's not doing any dry land right now.
Did you wipe those down with Clorox wipes before you handed them to the next
Every
kid?
time. I had them in my hand. Wiped them down every time. So that's what we're doing.
John, what about you guys? What's dry land look like?
So our one pool that our age group swimmers are at right now, we actually don't have the ability to do dry land there just from a facility standpoint. So our head age group coach is actually sending workouts home for them to do on their own for dry land. So not super ideal on that situation. From my senior side, you know, our strength coach, I mean, I'll just go on the boo-hoo stories. I mean, our strength coach is not with us right now. So, you know, he's working multiple jobs to make up for his gym loss right now. And then, you know, our yoga instructor, same thing. So, you know, we're back to me writing all my dry land workouts. But we do have a weight room set up that can accommodate, in my perspective, 4 at a time comfortably. We have 2 weight racks. I'm actually sitting in that room right now. You can see the rack behind me. But, you know, so we do have dry land scheduled out. So each senior athlete gets a 2-day-a-week segment. We get an hour in there for weightlifting. We haven't picked that back up since we're about 2 weeks in from a 3 or 4 day break. So we haven't really restarted weightlifting yet. From an age group standpoint, though, it's sent home with them, you know, core work and things of that nature. But, you know, for our weight room, I have a huge cleaning supply kit, and we get after that. So that's part of their hour is they have to come wipe down everything. And so they contribute some dollars to use the equipment. And then I keep going to Walmart and picking up wipes when they have them. And, you know, we keep that rolling through. We are sharing equipment in the pool. I will say that, you know, we keep our chlorine count up. So if we're talking about disinfecting, I mean, if a parachute around your belt's going to give you corona, I don't know what else is I mean, it's going to be bad news because we're swimming through disinfectant. So I'm going ahead with parachutes and and things of that nature. So
our equipment, I mean, we actually haven't busted the pulleys out yet. They're still on the back patio. We're probably going to bust them out next week, I would guess. We didn't break them out yet because we had the meet this weekend, and we didn't want to break them out and then tear them down and then put them back. And we haven't really figured out exactly how we're going to use them, but we'll probably bust them out this week. That's really the only thing outside of what they have in their bags that they're using. If we have a kid that, you know, doesn't have a kickboard or whatever, they can go grab a kickboard out of the bin. But they have to dip it in the chlorine before they put it back, or they have to set it on the deck and then the guards come over and spray it down and then put it back at our facility. So it's I know at the other facility they have 2 trash cans. One of them is disinfectant, and then one of them is like a rinse. And so you have to come dip it and then dip it like a restaurant. You know, you got to come, you're washing glasses. So you got to come do that over at the other facility. But we haven't used much stuff. I'm not a big toys guy anyways. I leave that to the college coaches.
Yeah. All right. So we got a former college coach in the room here. We got 2 of them actually, right? We got 2 guys that have both been involved in college swimming. And that's going to take us, we got about 9 minutes until we got the main set part of the show coming up. So John and Ben, both of you guys have done this at different levels. You've coached college, Ben, been a part of 96 Olympics as a coach. You've done it at the senior level and now at the age group level. Setting goals for our athletes right now. How are you approaching the goal setting point of the season? For look at John Boxmeyer's in here, got the beard going. But how are you guys approaching the goal setting method for you guys this year? And what are you telling your athletes, age group guys specifically?
Well, we're being real optimistic and telling them, you know, we're setting goals like we normally would. But a lot of our goals are based on, you know, following the process and what can you do to get better and what can you do to help your teammates get better? What can you do to help Huntsville Swim Association get better? But we're going normal goals. We want to know what they want to get to. And if that just means we're doing inter-squad meets forever, then that's what we're doing. But we're sticking with our normal goal sheets and getting them to fill them out and think about swimming fast and where they want to be in 3 months and 6 months and next year. You know, with Matt, with his older kids, I mean, we still got Olympic trials to go, we hope. So, you know, they're talking about that at that level. So that's where we are with our goals.
Ben, do you have those guys fill out a goal sheet for every event or just the events they want to focus on? What are you looking to for goal setting?
Well, with 12 to 14-year-olds, you know, we've got some boys that do not need to set breaststroke goals. That just is not something they need to do. But pretty much any event that they plan on swimming this year, we do a lot of talk about IMX, so they've got to set goals for those. Some of them, they just write, I hope to finish a 200 fly or whatever it happens to be. But yeah, we'll set them for every event they plan on swimming this year, and even events that I plan on them swimming that they don't. So we'll do it both ways.
John, what about you guys?
Go ahead, John.
All right. So for, you know, our goal setting right now, I mean, we're pretty much business as usual. We're talking about, you know, what events we want to swim in terms of improving, you know, from an age group standpoint. And we do talk about IMX score. We do talk about completing every single event on the schedule. So that's kind of an important side. I don't make any of my swimmers actually write down like a log book and turn it into me. I used to. Now we kind of go over it. We usually will have a sit down, and we haven't had one this season yet, about kind of what our goals are, where we're at, and if their commitment lines up with their goals. If you get what I mean by that. You know, if you're sitting there and you're a 13-year-old and you say, I want to make junior nationals as a 14-year-old, and your attendance is sitting at, you know, 60%, and, you know, you don't have even a flags qualifying time, you know, we start talking about, hey, well, we have to, you know, get the short-term goals a little bit better before our long-term goals are going to be there in a year. But the main thing I think out of where we're at right now for this season for goal setting is, I tell them every single race, treat it like it's your last race. Make sure that it matters. And, we were at our senior championship meets like so many other people. We didn't swim one race. We were at it when it got canceled for COVID. And we never know, when that next race is going to be scheduled and we say, hey, we got to shut down or we're not having the meet or whatever. It's always that possibility. So, realistically telling, we always would say that every race should matter when we talk about goal setting, but now I think it really maybe comes home a little bit better when we say that make this one count, never take off a race, never take it easy, never take the swim meet as like, oh, it's a training meet, whatever. I don't care about my time, but make sure that every single race matters to you right now. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
So I'm going to jump in here. One of the things that I started doing about a year and a half ago, and I think I shared it with John. I know Gober and a handful of other people have stolen it from me, which is flattery in the best form, is we started doing our goal setting based on things we needed to improve and the level of effort we were going to put into what it is we were going to improve. So rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 on the effort that you put into getting better at streamlining and kicking underwater. Rate yourself on the effort that you put into the aerobic sets. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 on the effort that you put into threshold sets. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 on the focus that you have in practice on doing things correctly. And I just put together a bullet point, 1-page sheet with 1 to 10. And we went through and we did it a couple times over the course of the season. And we really stick with the philosophy. I don't do goal sheets anymore where we put down times and we write all this stuff out. I just think it's a waste of time. People who like it, good, have at it, but it's not my thing. I'm not an IMX guy either. But I go back to the mantra of control what you control and do the best that you can do. And if you can do those two things effectively every single day or almost every single day, you're going to be better than everybody else around you. And even if you're not, you can look in the mirror and go, hey, I did my best. And that's the philosophy that I preach. I preached it to a degree back when John was swimming, but it's definitely evolved into a whole nother level since I've been doing this. And my kids know, like, hey, control what you can control. Is that outside of your control? Then stop worrying about it. It's not important. We can't
Bryan,
control what's happening.
Are they honest on those? Are they honest?
Well, that's one of the things that quite honestly, they really are. They'll tell you like, oh yeah, mine's a 6. Like I don't. Yeah, no. I mean, you do have a kid occasionally that'll just give himself 10s. Or usually I say him because it's usually a boy who will do that. The girls are actually more honest about it than the boys. But they're pretty good about it. And that's that 1 to 10 thing is something that I use in practice. Like, hey, threshold set, you're supposed to be giving me a 9 or a 10. What are you giving me right now? What would you rate yourself? And they're like, I don't know, maybe like a 6. And I'm like, okay, like what where's the disconnect here, buddy? Like we're supposed to be a 9 or a 10.
Yeah, so that question that just popped in there, that's exactly the conversation. John, you talked about it earlier about a 13-year-old boy who says, hey, I want to go to the national group. I want to get a junior national cut and those kind of things. And then you ask that kid, how hard do you work on, a threshold set? And they say, a 9. Well, their 9 is a lot different than my 9 most of the time. And I'm probably pretty sure knowing the three of you guys, it's probably a little bit different than your 9 as well. So Bryan, the question got put in there. What do you do in those cases? Guys, Ben, what do you do in those cases when you have an athlete who may have that disconnect between performance and input?
Well, I mean, we sit down and talk about it. We were doing a set the other day, and I told the whole group, your idea of fast and my idea of fast are definitely 2 different things right now. And Unlike Bryan, I don't throw the attendants in their face until they tell me, well, I want to be a 4,800 freestyler at age 13, but I'm going to only come Monday, Tuesday, Fridays because I have all these other things going on, and I tell them there are good reasons, but there's excuses that you're giving me too. So we sit down, we just have that talk and be very honest with them about, reality. And this is where you're training. You tell me you want to be a 48, but you train at a 53. So you got to figure out how you're going to bridge that gap. We'll just sit down and have that honest conversation with them.
Yeah, I think that honesty is really important. All right, guys, we're getting up on. We've got about 9 minutes left. If we want to throw the main set, there it is. There's our fancy graphic up there. Look at that. We're going to throw a workout up there for you guys and have Coach take it through it. So we'll get that up on the screen. We'll get started with the main set for today. And it's coming up. All right, John.
All right, that looks like mine.
You, man.
All right, so this one's actually from a while back. This is an old age group set. So this was actually, I would say, our bread and butter of what we like to do. We like to start off with kick. And even in our senior group today, we'll go all the way back to the 400 warm up. That's pretty much 99% of what we do, even for seniors. We start off with a 400 right away. Find it's just the right distance to kind of get in and get loose. We'll get into kick. This is, age group stuff. So it's 3 rounds, 450s, minute 10, fly kick on your back. On fly kick, I allow them to either go streamline or hands at the side for 99% of the time here, as long as they're on their back. I think that there's advantages to both. So I tell them kind of play around with that. Flutter kick.
Use their hands?
No hands.
Encourage them to let them use their hands to work on the finish of the stroke. That's what I do. That's why I'm asking.
You do it? Yeah, I let them just have them, hold their hands in the pocket, but I get what you're saying with that.
I think the working on the finish of the stroke, pushing through your hips as you're pushing with your hands teaches that finish of butterfly. But anyways, continue on, John. There's John. Oh, there you go. You there? Maybe.
Sounds good. So then the 350s, minute flutter. Yep. I'm here. You there?
Go ahead. John, you're good.
Myself? Maybe. Okay. So with 350 flutter kick, just pretty straightforward, with or without a board, doesn't matter to me. On flutter kick, though, I do make them streamline. Okay. So then off the block, we like to do all that. Block with a group that like.
This has always happened during the workout.
Loser, we good.
Yeah.
So the main set here, 200, 150. I'm a big fan of teaching age group how to build, and teaching them how to build. I don't know. I'm sure you guys are the same way, but.
All right.
Guys, I thought. So trying to build through on those 50s. Cut over to Ben.
Hey,
that's
John.
fine by me if it's
John, you're breaking up, buddy.
kicking
Yeah,
out.
John, we're gonna try to get you back in here. Ben, we're gonna try to put your workout up real quick. Take us through that one real quick. We'll see if we can get John back in here to get his workout going. All right, Ben, take it away.
Yeah, so we did this Saturday morning, which we have more time, so we throw in something a little longer on Saturday morning. The warm-ups, I change them all the time. I'm always mixing them up. All week long, we'd been doing different drills for different strokes, so I let them pick what they wanted to do on Saturday, and we were in the shallow pool, so they got to do dolphin dives, which they love. The set left, but that's okay.
Joe, where are we at here?
But
oh, we're bringing John back. Okay.
You want
All right, we're gonna get.
Hey guys, sorry about that.
Ben, go ahead on that.
Second set, we were just building up to the main set. just doing some free stroke stuff, some build stuff, some fast stuff. Main set, we went after some IM, and so it was 4 100 IMs and 140. The intervals were generous because we had a lot of new kids that haven't been with us before. So we went generous on the intervals, but we went 4 100 IMs, so we went 450s of your fourth best stroke. 3 200 IMs, 450s of your third best stroke, and so on. And mainly working on technique. It was more of a technique thing and getting used to transitions with the IMs. You know, I switched to things like fourth best back in the early 90s. I also tell them you can use the stroke you're least likely to make the Olympic team in, if you want to use that. Different things like that just to keep them going. And then we went a turn and go set where they're kicking 5 seconds fast on the wall. Fast turn, sprint to the middle of the pool, fast back. So they're also turning in the middle of the pool. So they've got to use their core when they're doing that. And they've got to work on, if they're doing flying breast, getting their feet up. If they're doing free or back, they're having to work that kick to start the second part of that swim. And then we've been working every Saturday morning. We take 15 to 20 minutes. We work on our back to breast transition turn. You know, we started at the basic. We've got 2 kids that are exceptional at the rollover turn, but most of them are really bad and they run into the wall. So we've been taking 15 to 20 minutes at the end of each Saturday practice and working on that turn specifically.
Ben, I got a question. So what's the rationale behind going fourth best, third best, second best, first best when you've got all these kids in the pool? Why not just go 4 fly, 4 back, 4 breast, 4 free, and put them on whatever intervals you want to put them on and have them all doing somewhat similar type things rather than have them, you know, in my mind, it looks like they're going to run over each other. If I've got a breaststroker and they're going on 55 and a freestyler that's going on 55.
Well,
Does that make sense?
Well, Saturdays we're only 2 to lane. We're 1 at each end. So we have the whole pool on Saturday. We have the legacy pool. So we've got 22 lanes in there on Saturday morning, and I've got 40 in my group. So that's why I can do things like that on Saturday that I can't do any other day. Saturdays I can also vary the intervals. I can have an A interval, B interval, C interval, which I can't do during the week with 4 to lane. So Saturdays gives me a little more flexibility to do some stuff like that.
Good answer. We got John back.
We got John back in. Let's see if John's workout can pop back up and we can finish through. John, we got just a few minutes if you want to take us through kind of the main deal in the main set. But you're muted right now. There you go.
Always something, man.
Let's go.
Always something.
Let's go. There we
Mr.
go.
Technology. You can't figure out technology.
Youngest one in the group, and I act like a grandpa. Sorry. Tyler might have me. I don't know.
No, you got me.
Yeah,
You got me for sure.
So yeah, we really want them to learn how to build as an age grouper, how to build 50s, how to work a negative split. That's what the main set's about here. 200 building, 100 negative split, 50 fast. Same idea. So when we get into our stroke work, it's the idea of changing speed and learning how. I know Bryan says he's not an 80% guy. I have about 17 different ways to say how to go fast. So, where we want it, how we're doing it. So the 550s on a minute are variable speeds going to 7, 1 to 3, 4 to 5. MFE is middle finger entry, big work on, 2 100s freestyle, not dropping a thumb in the water first. So learn how to rotate through and swim slow and swim right. And then a little bit more speed work. The IM 812, that is talking about stroke counts. So I've actually this is from 2014. We're down to, I'm a big believer of 7 now. We've cut down 1 on fly and breast, get down to water a little bit better. But so we're down to 712 in today's practices. But, so stroke count work, learning how to build, those are huge components of, and this was a September workout. So it's I think it was like a Wednesday or a Tuesday. So it's a pretty average day. I didn't want to pick like the hardest thing we've ever done in the world. And so just kind of looking at it that way, so we kick, we work on a skill set, which was the build. And then we get into a mixture of working our number 1 stroke and some IM components. Pretty typical age group day.
Cool. Good stuff. All right, guys. Well, it's been awesome. Those of you guys who are out there, I know I saw it earlier, probably in the 40 or 50 people at some point that were logged on watching, and hopefully get some more views on the back end. But coaches, Ben, John, thank you guys for taking time out of your day. Bryan, always good to share an hour of swim conversation with you.
Yeah. And guys, those out there watching, if you feel like you got something to offer, something to share, reach out to one of us and, let us know, and we'll talk. I mean, we're trying to make this a great show that people can learn from and get something out of, so, bring it on, folks.
Thank you, Coach Charlie. I see Charlie Rose jumping in there. All right, guys,
Good
everybody
Charlie,
have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys next week on Holding Water. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Join us on the Swim Monkey.
Swim
Swim monkey.
Monkey TV. On the Monkey.